key characteristic of successful people is the ability to start conversations with strangers. I've got the sun in my eyes, but it's very nice on my face. And I'm going to teach you now how to go from not being able to talk to anyone and having a fear of rejection to being able to start conversations with strangers. And what this is going to give you, for the right person watching this video, is an unlimited amount of doors open to you. Nobody works in isolation. None of the successful people that you see were an island of just them going out into the world and suddenly becoming successful. Every single one of them had to meet people, met certain people, started conversations with them, carried those conversations on, and that's what led to them having success. Even, and I know what some people are going to say now is, even people that make YouTube videos, this is a form of communication. And in order to put that out there, you're starting conversations with strangers. How do you think brand deals come about? How do you think collaborations, interviews? Every successful person is able to start conversations with strangers. The way that I did this, and I've always been fairly confident, but I did something in 2021 that supercharged my ability to talk to people. I was stood in Camden in London. Someone tried to sell me weed on the street. And I thought, if they can sell weed to me on the street, a stranger, surely I can sell websites. So I asked one person, they said no. I asked another. I asked 5 people this one question. I said, excuse me, do you need a website? And the 5th person took my contact details. 20% ratio is quite high. And I thought there's something here. When you're cold calling, it's much less than that. I thought there's something here. So I started going out after work. And eventually I was talking to 100 people a day. After 100 strangers that you're interacting with, you're exhausted. It's quite emotionally draining. Some days I would do much more. Some days I would do much less. But on average, I was talking to 100 people a day. I recorded every interaction in a small book. I love looking through this book. Just what time it was, what age they were, whether they're male or female, whether they said yes. If they said no, I just put no. And if they said yes, I just wrote a little bit about how the interaction went. It was an amazing experiment. And one thing I noticed is that every day that I went out, I had this nervousness on the first one. And it was a resistance to actually starting that first conversation. So I developed a few strategies to actually getting over this. And I've taught people since how to do this. And it's been very valuable to them because they've gone from having this fear of rejection and not wanting to start conversations to opening up like a flower and now being able to start conversations with anyone. So this video probably isn't for you if you already are able to talk to people, because these steps will seem extremely simple to you. And you'll think, that's not hard, I can do that. But the person that I want to talk to in this video is the person that sat at home thinking, I can't start conversations with people. This seems insurmountable to me. The thought of walking into a room of people that I don't know seems unavailable to me. And I want you to know it's a very thin wall between where you are now and the ability to start a conversation with anybody on the planet. So actually something I've just thought while I said that is how you go from being able to talk to no one to talk to 8 billion people. Okay, let's get serious again. So the way that you overcome this rejection is by first understanding it. You have to understand that the reason you think you can't talk to someone is because you're scared of being rejected. That is a natural and very valid fear. It's okay to feel that way. The only way that you get over that is not through theory, it's through exposure. It's through putting yourself in situations where you might potentially get rejected, where you actually do get rejected, and coming out the other side thinking, I'm okay. I got rejected and I'm fine. My life hasn't changed that much. The very first thing that you can do, this is so low barrier, this is available to everyone, is you walk up to a stranger in your town. You should do this today while the inspiration is hot. You walk up to a stranger in your town and you ask them for the time. You say, excuse me, do you have the time? And if you need an excuse as to why, because you think everyone's got their phone, they're going to think I'm silly for asking for the time. You say, excuse me, do you have the time? My phone is out of battery. This is extremely low resistance. I don't think there is anybody that can't ask a stranger for the time who is able to go outside and potentially talk to strangers. Just do one. Because once you've done one, you've gone from 0 to 1. You've gone from sat at home thinking, I can never talk to strangers. I'm a huge introvert. And now you've gone and done one person where you've said, excuse me, do you need the time? Do you have the time? If they say no, that's actually a good thing. No one's going to say no to you on this. But if they do, that's a good thing, because then you'll have had your first rejection. And you'll realise, actually, it's not that bad. Most of sales is being told no. It's being rejection. It's being rejected. I think for most guys, most of the time they go up and talk to a girl or another guy, it's rejection. And the people that succeed in business and in life are completely comfortable with being rejected because they know it doesn't really affect them that much. So you've done that. I hope you have actually done that, because this will change your life. 0 to 1. Go and ask one person for the time. Go from 1 to many. So do this consistently every day. Ask strangers for the time. The amazing thing about this is that each interaction is completely separate. So you can ask 10 people for the time within an hour, and because they don't know each other, for you it seems like everything is connected, but for them it's each individual one. So it's not embarrassing. It doesn't matter that you're asking 10 people for the time. You're just practicing your ability to communicate. It only feels silly to you. Each time you ask someone, for them it's a unique experience. Once you've got over this fear of rejection, asking for the time, because you know you're not going to be rejected, you need to up the resistance. You need to up the risk a bit. A question I love asking is, if you were 28 again now, how would you spend your time? This is actually asking someone for something. People are going to say no to you for this. But the people that say yes and actually give you the advice, you're going to get some great answers. It's also free for them. So you're not asking them for money. You're asking them for a bit of time. People love giving advice. They love feeling like the expert. And so you ask someone, excuse me, if you were 28, or you choose your own age, if you were 28 again now, how would you spend your time? You'll get some great answers. One of my closest friends now, I met 3 years ago now, asking this exact question, and we had a great conversation. Do that as many times as you need to in order to feel confident, and then start selling things. Start selling websites or whatever skill that you have. Go and ask strangers. And the reason you want to do this progression is that it's very unlikely someone will say no to you if you ask the time. It's less it's more likely they'll say no to you if you ask for advice, but it's highly likely that people will say no to you if you ask them for money. And that is what you need in order to gain confidence talking to strangers. You need to be completely comfortable with being rejected. And the only way that you get comfortable being rejected is by being rejected thousands of times. That experiment I mentioned earlier, I stopped counting in the little book that I was using at 3,554 people. I just stopped. I was loving it so much that I didn't need to record these anymore. I knew what my ratio was. I was confident being rejected. I've now talked to more than 10,000 people like this on the street and refined it and found different avenues to do it and worked out who to talk to and where and what to ask them, and you spot patterns, and it's been probably the most valuable skill I have improved in my life, and it's opened so many doors. I can walk into a room of people that I don't know and be fine. I know that I can walk up to the nearest person and say, hey, I don't know anyone here. How's it going? What's happening? In a lift, if I need to elevator pitch someone, which people think is cringe, but I actually think an elevator pitch is really fantastic. If you've practiced, if you don't know what an elevator pitch is, it's basically a 30-second description of the thing that you're trying to do, that you practice in your head, so that if you're ever in the elevator with the person that you need to talk to, in those 4 floors that you're going down, you can deliver the pitch succinctly and communicate effectively and potentially land the deal in the elevator. I just think that's such a lovely concept. But I know that I can do that because I talked to thousands of people on the street and I got rejected thousands of times. I know that I have the confidence to talk to 10,000 people on the street, strangers, individually. I know I can do that because I started by asking for the time, and then I asked for advice, and then I started selling things. A little bonus for you, because every time I went out, every new day that I went out, there was a slight resistance to talking to the first person. Once I got the momentum going, that was fine. There was always a slight resistance. I would talk to an old lady. The first person I would walk up to each day that I went out was an old lady, and I would just walk up to them, not from behind obviously, but from the front. I'd wave, make sure I wasn't going to surprise them and scare them, and I would say, excuse me, do you need a website? I knew they didn't need a website. I absolutely knew they did not need a website, but I knew it wasn't going to be bad if I got rejected. And from then on, I had the momentum for the whole day, and usually had a nice chat and met someone interesting. Please do this. Please go and talk to one person and learn that being rejected is not a problem, because it will open up unlimited doors for you. It will actually open up 9 billion doors, because if you can talk to one person, you can talk to anyone. My name is Alex Northrall. If you like this, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you've got any other strategies for talking to people. It's important to share them because this skill is so important. Thank you so much for watching.